Oh, hun, can you at least pick up your clothes?
No, I've got to run, hon.
You can always start your day a little bit earlier.
But I got so much on. I was up so late last night.
Well, maybe you need to drop some of your commitments.
I've got no choice. Life is all about choices, or so we're told. Choose the right career, the right house to live in, the right life partner. But are we actually free to choose? And if we are, how should we make our choices?
The problem is free will is just a non-starter philosophically and scientifically. There's no, unlike many other illusions, there's no way you can describe the universe so as to make sense of this notion of free will. Free will as a concept is so incoherent that it can't be mapped onto any conceivable reality.
I disagree. Freedom is something we all experience. We all intuitively believe in it. Even though it's not really consistent with an entirely physical, material universe and scientific reductionism. Our experience tells us we really do make our own decisions. We're masters of our own destinies. You can keep watching this video, or you can go do something else. But scientists and philosophers tell us there shouldn't really be freedom to choose. Everything is determined by some combination of nature and nurture, not personal choice. Each future state of the universe is determined by the previous state and the laws of physics. Brain states are just part of the material physical universe, and each brain state is determined by the previous brain state, the initial conditions, and the laws of physics. You know, there are some key thinkers who do question this idea of determinism. They do realise that we really do experience freedom to choose.
Freedom of the will, I think we're stuck pretty much where Descartes was. We just can't abandon believing it. It's our most immediate, phenomenologically obvious impression, but we can't explain it. And as he said, if there's something which we just know to be true and we don't have any explanation for it, well, too bad for our explanatory possibilities. But I don't see any way of getting around that.
Richard Dawkins is another one of those key thinkers that accept this idea that there really is free will. But all he can offer as an explanation for freedom of the will is that it just is. It's interesting that Richard Dawkins will accept a just so explanation for something, isn't it? A world without free will has profound implications. Well, you got some for me. You know, I've been thinking about that conversation we were having the other day about free choice and all that. If we don't actually have free will, then our marriage wasn't our choice, but the inevitable result of, well, physics.
And a bit of chemistry. And we'd be just as easily destined for divorce. If we don't have free will, you know.
So, if I don't really choose you over all other girls, does that make you feel special?
It's as special as the dirt on the bottom of a shoe.
Right. Thankfully, I do believe that we were free to make other choices. And we're free right now to increase our love and commitment for each other, or free to decrease it, and even free to walk away from each other. But it's that freedom that makes our love special and meaningful.
Oh, thanks, hon.
Otherwise, we're just slaves or robots, following a script that was determined by the laws of physics and the universe. Will you marry me? Love is only worth something because there is another alternative. There is freedom. Love that was forced or automatic would simply be robotic. Our experience of freedom demonstrates powerfully that there's a deeper explanation for life, the universe, and everything we experience than just matter, energy, time, and chance. There is more to life than the observable physical reality. There's more to know, and more ways to know and be known than the scientific method allows for. I believe that additional immaterial or spiritual dimension is best explained by the existence of a powerful superintelligence that operates outside the laws of physics, the existence of a supernatural entity, God. Now, free will has a number of implications. I'm going to list 3. 1, there is moral responsibility. This isn't new. Our whole penal system is based on this. 2, our choices matter. We can actually improve our lives and the world around us. Our whole education, employment and commerce systems are based on this. 3, we can actually have meaningful conversations, learn and change our thoughts and behaviour in all areas of our lives. Otherwise, why philosophise about the big questions of life? Why bother watching this video? So now for part 2. How should I make my decisions? I'm going to start with some assumptions here. We really do have freedom to choose between a number of options. This freedom exists because a God of love exists and transcends our universe. There is a superintelligence operating at a higher level than our universe. He has given our universe a moral dimension that allows for freedom, love and moral responsibility. Such a God is interested in helping us make the best decisions, but he hasn't written the script for our lives. So, how do we go about making our decisions? Let's have a look at the way some Christians make their decisions. Christians believe the assumptions that I've just gone through, but they tend to make some interesting claims sometimes about their decision making. Claims that sound a bit strange even to me, a fellow Christian. Let's look at some of the things that Christians tend to say about their decisions. You know, God led me to this job.
God prepared us for each other before the day we were born. God chose this house for us.
Really? Does God give us our freedom to choose, only to take back that freedom and direct every decision we ever make? This kind of talk from Christians frankly does God a disservice. It turns out that it's not only the atheists that have a hard time grappling with free will. Some Christians do too. Here's why I believe Christians have a hard time grappling with this. They're afraid of taking responsibility for bad choices. They think that since God knows everything, then surely it's in his character to tell us what choices are going to be best for us. So they assume that life is at its best when we hand over our free will to his direction for every decision that we make, even decisions between good things. Then because they think that he'll come to the party and guide every decision, like a fortune teller, they can just pray something like this.
Dear God, if you want us to buy that car that we saw at the dealership yesterday, please have the dealer ring us today.
This is effectively outsourcing our decision making to our idea of God, treating God like a fortune teller. Unfortunately, many Christians make up signs or tests that are really just a reflection of their own emotions and desires and have very little to do with God. Now, I do believe that God does desire to influence our choices, but here's how. He sets out broad parameters for what's in his will for our lives, moral boundaries of good and bad, right and wrong, love and hate. But he gives us freedom to choose between good options. He lets us be creative, unique individuals free to grow in expressing our own identity, kind of how we'd like things to work in human relationships. Would you like it if your kids came to ask you what choices they should make for all their decisions in their life, or your spouse? Yet that's what some Christians do with God.
Oh, Dan, before you go, I'm thinking about going back to work, and so perhaps tomorrow, if you're at home on time, that'll be the sign that I'll go back. Well, guess I'm not going back to work.
That's effectively what some Christians do when they ask for random signs. Let's try that again. Wouldn't this next example make more sense?
So, hun, can we have a chat for a second?
Sure.
Thinking about getting back to work. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, cool. Sounds good. Feel like you're ready to get back into it?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Happy to support. You reckon the kids will be okay without their mum?
Well, we'll see. But they'll have to be.
Do you need me to be home a little bit earlier on some days, or maybe take a day off?
That would actually be really good. That would be great. Let's try and figure out the days.
Cool. Yeah, happy to support. Make it work.
Awesome. Thanks, babe.
Many Christians believe that God has mapped out one path for our lives and all other options are bad. But that's not how God works. God gives us freedom to choose our path within a broad range of options that are all within His will. The Bible gives broad principles of how we should live our lives. That principle is evident right from the beginning. Did God tell Adam and Eve which food to eat? No, He let them choose from a wide variety, but just said there was one tree not to eat from. As humans, we have freedom to map out our own destiny. Our lives are not predetermined. We can take many alternative pathways, and God does give us freedom to choose between pathways. His influence in our lives is to set moral boundaries to prevent us from hurting ourselves and others, but then to let us make free decisions within those broad boundaries. He promises to help us grow in wisdom, always, and occasionally He may give us a specific pointer to help guide us. But this is usually on His terms, not because we demand it, which is kind of how we'd expect things to work in a functional human relationship, isn't it? Hey, Mum.
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
An opportunity's come up at work for me to take a part-time roster. So that'd be good for you to get back to work if you want to.
Perfect.
Christians call this the providence of God. I experience God's providence regularly, occasionally in a profound way, beyond mere coincidences or human explanation, and much clearer in hindsight than ahead of time. I believe it's very rare that anyone can claim to have inside knowledge to what future choices among good alternatives has God's specific tick of approval. In most cases, that would be against His character of love and freedom. Free will. It's an incredible gift. It doesn't make sense in a purely physical, deterministic universe, and our experience of freedom speaks powerfully to the existence of an immaterial dimension to reality, one that's consistent with a superintelligence, God. The good news is that God gives us freedom. He doesn't then take it back again. He gives us moral boundaries and helps us grow in wisdom, but He's not in a plain fortune teller for our decision making. God is love. He's a God of freedom. He gives you free choice to love Him back or not, to believe Him or not. What choices will you make?